All right, so the name of the broadcast today, starting out, is Perspective. That may change as time rolls on. What I wanted to talk about is that I've shared a lot of memories recently. When I used to do this, I would come out on a motorcycle to do the sharing that I did. And with that in mind, when there's a lot of wind like this and rain, that's quite a challenge. So I'm at the Prince Resort right now. The sun would have become visible about 15 minutes ago or so. It was 7:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. High tide was at 7:11, and I'm going to take us for a little walk around here and show you some of the way that this looks. One of the reasons why I like to continue to put my phone number out there is I continue to get calls from people all over the world. Perspective is a big deal, and I'm going to cover a little bit of that right now and show you some of what may appear to be obvious to some. Not only are the little puddles there flat, they're all level. It looks like I might have messed up my focus a little bit. Gust of wind just made that puddle ripple a lot. So there's a north-northeast wind at 15 miles an hour. So if I want to put this reflection right there in the water there, I've got to back up a little bit. And it's right there. That's where the truth is. The truth is basically reality. What is the reality? What is the construct that we live in? Well, it's a challenge to look at because a lot of people don't want to see the truth. They don't want to see the reality of the world that we live in. So we'll have a lot of guests here come to the Prince Resort, oceanfront condos for sale. Soon there will be a Hampton Inn coming out of the ground right there, 6 stories or so. And then right here there's going to be a parking ramp. See the telephone pole right there is right there. All of the symmetry of the reflections prove the impossibility of the globe. There's no movement. Now, right now I'm in a bit of a quiet area, wind-wise. Now a gust came. It's moving all around. What I've seen is sometimes there will be wind coming in off of the ocean like this, and the flag is blowing the opposite direction because of the vortex created by the structure. I'm actually very scientific in the context that I believe reality shows the truth of the situation that we live in. I won't be able, very likely, to ever park in this parking lot again. And that's totally cool. I get that. But I can walk through it. That's not a problem. We've got a bunch of pollen from the pine trees. That's what this is right here. So to put a concrete structure here that's going to be, probably 100 feet tall, they're going to dig into the ground a lot. So from the vantage point up there, there's a swimming pool up there, by the way. And there's parking on levels 7 and 8 for free, which will be really nice. See, all the symmetry of the reflections may not appear to be that pretty. What I'm going to do is position my device a little bit better so I can show you some of that. So there's perspective. I recently made a post where it showed Keanu Reeves with some really big hair. Really big hair, and it said The Matrix was a documentary. How about that? And then one of my friends posted a link of Matrix Decoded. Matrix 1, 2, and 3. Interesting. So I'm not a Mason. I'm a born again follower of Christ. He now lives in and through me. That's who I am. The gentleman there used some terminology of being illuminated, mentioned the 33rd degree Mason, all of that. I don't know exactly what his perspective is. What I would simply say is that he did a really excellent job of describing a lot of what was going on in the Matrix movie series. So when we have high tide right here, it comes up and goes right on back down. It's just the way it does. About every 6¼ hours or so. That's northeast right over there. That's where the wind is coming out of. And we've got a lot of fast moving clouds. So you'll hear some of the wind, I'm sure. And that's only 15 miles an hour. Now, the official story is we're spinning 1,038 miles an hour at the equator, yet we don't feel the movement. And the amount of wind would be absolutely devastating. It would blow buildings like this over. Just to put that in perspective. I believe the strongest winds I've felt outside, when I was out in them, was close to 90 miles an hour. We had Hurricane Florence came in here. We had Hurricane Matthew. They're modifying the weather. Who are they? Well, I believe the artificial intelligence will use patsies and people to maybe flip a switch from time to time. However, most of what's going on is fully automated. See the clouds moving, and now they're moving in a southeasterly direction. That's the Myrtle Beach skyline in the distance. I won't be having any the P1000 out right now because it could start pouring rain any moment. To do this, I get suited up with a pretty weather protective gear. 90-mile-an-hour winds is mind-boggling. And then for me to go like 65 miles an hour on Highway 31 into a headwind of over 40 miles an hour, we're looking at over 100-mile-an-hour winds. And yes, I have broken the speed limit on high-speed motorcycles out in California. Years ago, I used to ride out to Palm Springs through Carlsbad on the Ortega Highway, Highway 74. There were people out there with motorcycles that would go so fast. And we'll have Bike Week happen here in May. There will be the first Bike Week, which is a lot of Harley Davidsons, and then there's people that go to both Bike Weeks. Typically, Memorial Day weekend is called Black Bike Week. And in that Bike Week, there's not just black bikers. There will be high-tech motorcycles, really elaborate motorcycles that may cost $250,000. There will be celebrities out here for that. I don't know that they'll be here at the Prince Resort. On Sunday, when I did my broadcast, there was a group of bikers there, and I started my recording under there, and you might find it interesting. Talked with one of the gentlemen briefly, and he wanted to know what the truth was, and I went into a little bit of it with him, and he said, I'm totally on board with all that. A lot of people know. So here's part of what I want to help you to consider. Let me flip this around. I want to be able to do it like this. It's going to be reversed when I do the selfie mode. Okay, so part of what this is as we help others to get unplugged from the matrix of control, it's going to be a challenge for them. There's going to be a resistance. There's going to be a pushback. And a big part of what's going on is not only what would be viewed as positive results of helping reveal or unveil the reality to the people looking at it. Part of what's going on is a character development in each and every one of us. Have you heard your heartbeat lately? I heard mine this morning. It was interesting. Laying on my back in the bathtub, feet up in the air, plants all around me. It was interesting. Sounded like a freight train gently idling along a railroad track. Now, I used to chain smoke cigarettes and drink vodka for breakfast. Not doing it anymore. I don't have the appetite for it. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It means I'm better than the me that was a slave to anything that would make me feel a little bit different, not necessarily better. The thing about addiction is that it feels better for a while because I'm feeding the monkey that's saying, hey, where's my nicotine? Where's my alcohol? Yeah. So the giving some satisfaction to that addiction isn't necessarily feeling better. It's just not feeling as bad as when it's screaming to be satisfied. I got that monkey off of my back. I didn't pick myself up by my own bootstraps to do that. That happened because I was given God's Holy Spirit, the God who created this world. He gave me a passion, purpose, an eternal perspective, and the power to do what I could not do before. I was a slave to sin. Absolute slave to it. Who's in control? That was another thought I was thinking of for a title. Who's in control? In the TV series Get Smart, there was chaos and control, I believe. Kind of interesting. I grew up watching that. I'm 57 years old and I watched a lot of TV. Good morning. And I remember this stuff quite a bit. Anyway, this building, of course, is set up to be able to handle quite a variation or change in the level of the water. They had to close the pier down when we had the hurricanes come in because it was hitting the boards underneath. Some piers like this will just get wiped out. It'll take them down. So this is the Cherry Grove Pier and the Prince Resort. Boardwalk Cafe is really a great place to get some excellent hospitality and food. We can see the different texture here. I'm going to drop this down low. That's the look of a lot of heavy rain hitting that. That's the look of the waves coming up and flattening that out. That's where they converge, right there. I remember our sons would say, well, that's all really obvious, Captain Obvious. Yeah, well, you know what? What used to be viewed as common sense isn't so common anymore. And one of the reasons for that is people are plugged into a system of control and deception, and mind control is what's being controlled is the mind. You control the mind, you control the person. You control the hive mind, and you control the population of the world. So who's in control of you? Who's in control of me? As best I can tell, I'll do what Jesus created me to do, and everybody can deal with that. Yeah, so he's in control of me, and I'll do what he created me to do. Trying to flip my camera around. Just that little bit of moisture will do it. I've got gloves that are supposed to do that. Sometimes it works pretty good, sometimes not as much. It's 40 degrees out here right now, but with 15-mile-an-hour wind, it can be pretty chilly. Right now, because the wind is coming from that direction, it's pretty still right in this area. I'll probably go ahead and bring out bubbles again to show you some of the dynamics of air currents in that. I used to do that a lot more, and for a different reason. It was to get attention, and I would share Bible.is, Bible.com, and I've recorded a lot of the audio Bible and merged it with the beauty of creation. You know, I am wearing boots and they work great. However, if I get hit by a big wave, I'll be walking in water. It'll just fill my boots up. The boundaries of the water are basically set by God. He's the one that set that up. We're living in a created world, a created existence, a creation. So I would say I'm a biblical creationist. Part of this is a test too, to see where I can get my signal strength. I had to turn off my wireless router or my Wi-Fi on my phone, because it'll fight between that and the other signal, and I'll lose the broadcast potentially. Yeah, so right here there's very little wind right now. A lot of cameras up on the building too. If you go to the Prince Resort, you can actually operate the cameras if you care to. See, the water is level enough that if you were to fill that all the way up to the top, you could see the elevation, the slope of the pad here, the concrete patio that's all around. At about 9 o'clock, they'll go ahead and turn on the fountain there and open this up. You can see the pool, especially the little whirlpool evaporating, a lot of heat coming off of it. So they'll use natural gas in a facility like this to warm that up. Another example of that would be this one these right here, for this unit over here. It takes a tremendous amount of heat to keep that water warm. And then these are high efficiency heaters that will do that. So what's your environment like? where you live. Well, where mine is, I've got a lot of plants in the house and I keep it really clean, and I'm bathing in highly purified carbon filtered reverse osmosis water. And then after I do that for a while, I'll add some baking soda, about a cup to about 35 gallons. And then after I do that for a while, however long I feel like it, then I'll add a quarter cup of, which is a mouthful of coconut oil, organic coconut oil. There will be a lot of turbulence of the air whirling around. I can do this a little bit better when it's 40 degrees and windy because I'm not creeping on the people. That'd be kind of weird. It'd maybe freak them out. So the bait shop is open. Are you open to looking at new information? And then what will you do with that? Hey, good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Here's some of the numbers for today. Here's a picture of the shark that was caught in 1963, almost 2,000 pounds of tiger shark. So right here we've got some technology. This right here, 3,400 psi, coming through a little nozzle like that. Have to be really careful. It can cut skin, and it's a really painful injury. It happens. People do it. I saw it happen on a work crew that I was on at the Boys Ranch in New London, Wisconsin. I cut myself when I was about 10 years old with that. One like it. It only was 500 psi. So now we have a very different perspective from this vantage point. Pretty quiet out on the pier today. Not so many fishermen. I think I may be the only person out here. I don't know. I think we'll find out. So the Myrtle Beach skyline is very challenging to see. It's about 25 miles away. So the high-power telescope is, I believe, about 30 times magnification, and the P1000 is 125 times magnification. Quite a difference there. So I just put the hood up. I'm not sure what that's going to do to the sound. But, well, let me see. I don't want to do that. Yeah, so just it's my kind of way of helping to reduce some of the wind on me. Okay. Now, surfers may come out in this if the wind is, if the waves are good. They're not real great, but they could definitely get some rides on them if they wanted to. A longboard would be a good board for this. And the way that the waves are on this side of the pier will be quite a bit different than on this side. We can see the way that the waves are coming in. The water is extremely powerful, and when we get what's called a storm surge, what that is the wind moves across the water and just pushes it beyond the normal boundaries. You can do that with a coffee cup by just blowing over the top of it if you wanted to see how that works. It'll just cause the ripples to blow right out the other side. It's all scalable. So when we had reports of wind speeds of Hurricane Florence being over 150 knots, and yet the buoys out in the place where they were registering was saying that it was like 22 knot winds, they can't both be right. What was accurate? So that's why perspective matters. I would much rather be on the land when we've got 200-mile-an-hour winds out over the ocean. Not many craft can handle that. A submarine can do pretty good. It'll just go under the water, right? Be relatively unaffected. I've talked with people that work for the military in working with artificial intelligence operating the submarines and remote controlled and all of that. If you make something remote controlled, like the cameras on the top of the building, you can sit from where you are and operate that camera. It's not like there's a little chimpanzee up there turning it when you tell them to turn the camera. It's got a little motor in it, electrically operated. If let me put this on, put me back on there again. So if you knew somebody, I think outside the box. I have all my life, as best I can tell. Imagine, if you will, a world that was powered by the toroidal field, like the vehicles we drive, the jet skis, the jet boards, whatever. If they could harvest the energy from the ether. That cost Nikola Tesla his life, developing that technology. If I could put it out there for people for free, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would make it known. I don't know that that's going to happen. Robert Forsch at Gmail, you could send me information. Just know that everything's tracked, traced, databased, and threat assessed. So I can't protect your identity if you're communicating with me. But if you knew how to make free energy available to humanity, I would love to share that. For example, let me flip this around again. For example, the salt water, oh, they're all excited. The salt water can be activated with electricity, and with the process of electrolysis, you can shatter the bond between oxygen and hydrogen and create a fuel that vehicles can run on. You can cut steel, melt rock. It takes a lot of heat to melt rock. Hotter than oxygen acetylene. The byproduct of that is moisture, condensation. The powers of those in control don't want that free fuel for humanity. We're like a virus to the artificial intelligence, and we're an enemy of Satan, those of us that are actually born of God's Spirit. My family members that are actually born again are on a hit list. Oh well. Greater is he that's in me, in you, than he that's in the world. I remember power washing a roof with a device like this in California. It was funny. They run really loud. It was going, and it shut off like that. It fell into a swimming pool, one just like that. And I had to drain the oil and take the spark plug out and dump the water out of the engine, and got that all running. I used newspaper to get the oil off of the top of the swimming pool. So I can tell you just by looking at the waves the direction that the wind, well actually the waves are coming out of that direction right there. They've got a lot of stored energy in them. They're coming this way, even though the wind is coming from that way. Now, I was on the beach over there on Sunday recording a kite surfer 2 miles away. Should be pretty interesting when I post it. It was mind-blowing to watch him move like 25 miles an hour through the surf, catching 20 feet of air, going off the water about 20 feet. Looked like my friend Gerald. He worked for Caterpillar as a hydraulics engineer. Looks like we've got maybe a turtle out there. No, it's just a bird. Sometimes we'll see some pretty good sized shark down here. They don't like people swimming close to the pier because the shark are attracted to the food from the bait and the fish that are being attracted to the pier by the fishermen. So where I just stepped is virtually calm. There's almost no wind down here, but there's plenty of wind up there. It's just how things actually work. It's the reality of it. So I'm just going to set this down here for a minute and let you look at what that, in fact, I'll go ahead and stabilize this. There will be some movement because the pier is moving a bit. I can feel the movement. And then when I step on the back onto the beach, I don't feel any of this movement because it's based on perspective. I'm about 30 feet off of the water right now. And now the wind picks, I can feel the wind more here. It didn't pick up, it's just that I can feel it more. Now, right over in this direction, the pier here faces slightly southwest. So I'm facing virtually south right now. One morning I was out here and I was talking to Leonard. He takes a lot of photos out here. I said, did you see the buildings? I said, what did you think of the sunrise? And he, it was funny. I'm going to just pull this up here a bit. So it looked like buildings were right out there. Not that I could see them real clear. It looked almost like thermal imaging. And what Leonard said, you mean the buildings out there? I said, yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? I don't know if we saw Wilmington. It could possibly be. It's about 60 miles from here. It would be very unusual to see that because the moisture over the ocean is pretty intense. Like right here today, there's close to 100% humidity. It's not always 100% when it's raining either. Sometimes it changes a bit. So even though it's pretty windy, again, about 15 miles an hour coming out of the northeast, the microphones are a bit protected. This is a Sennheiser with surround sound feature. I wanted to give you a little bit better quality of that. It's got quite a different look from this vantage point. One of the things that's interesting, I'll get calls from people that I've, or comments from people I've met on the beach years ago, and they'll say, you know, I subscribed to your channel after meeting you out here, and some of the interaction has just been very, very powerful, very profound. And some people, when they find out that a lot of what's going on in the world is different than they thought, they kind of recoil from it. It challenges their paradigm, their perspective. They recoil from it. So a lot of the high school and college age now are waking up to a lot of this. And children, a third of children apparently are on smartphones before they walk. And certainly almost all of their parents are on smartphones before they're even born. So Kelly Wheel at the works for the Daily Beast, I interviewed with her, and she was interviewing Logan Paul, and she knew she believed he was trolling the flat earth and outed him on that. And what I would say is, well, Kelly, did you figure out that NASA is punking the whole world, trolling the whole world? NASA lies, Satan lies, Santa lies. Did you believe the Santa lie, that an all-knowing, jolly old chap from the North Pole was going to take flying, freaking reindeer and deliver presents to you if you were a good little boy or girl? Well, most people that I've asked that question believed it. Did you? So that's one of my evidences. That's why I put the Santa hat behind the mirror at the Flat Earth Conference. I wanted people to grasp the reality that most of us were deceived on that. I had a wind chime there to show the non-movement of the Earth and the fact that it can just stay there like that. There's over 4 different motions supposedly that the Earth is experiencing, yet we don't see any evidence of that except the science fiction that's presented. I would debate anybody. I would debate President Trump if he had the balls to say, yeah, we never landed on the moon and the Space Force, I'm lying about all that. They won't have me debate him. I'm not auditioning for a news presenter at one of the major media sources. I wouldn't want to do it. They wouldn't want me there. We know that. This is kind of like in the Matrix, the pirate signal going out. Except I'm not a pirate. I'm one of the good guys. So I'm gonna go on this side because it's nice and quiet. Right here they show a bit of the turtle rescue. We've got people that are out here rescuing turtles, and I think that's wonderful. I'm out here wanting to rescue people from deception, a mind control deception that's being perpetrated on humanity. I've met people up here from Nebraska, talked to them for a bit. They were unaware of the weather modification, apparently. And Nebraska has been hammered with a tremendous loss of life because of weather modification, cattle being lost, livelihoods being lost. Even before Hurricane Florence actually hit our shoreline here, I pretty much believed that there were going to be suicides because of loss of life, a loss of livelihood. And it occurred. There were not only suicides, there were heart attacks. A nephew of mine was working with a man cutting firewood to get trees off of his house and stuff. He had a heart attack. He died. Who's paying for that? We're all paying for that in one way or another. They say buckle up when you're driving your car. Well, the insurance companies don't want to pay. It's not that they're so concerned about our potential loss of life. Some may be. They'll get well-meaning people that don't want to see people killed in a car accident because of not wearing a seatbelt. However, insurance companies have to pay out a lot of money for deaths and all of that. Somebody's killed in a car accident, well, then they need to pay up. They need to pay up that life insurance or whatever. So people are moved by information, what they believe to be important or accurate. From the point of perspective, the world can't be both flat and a globe. It's one or the other. And I can tell you there's no evidence for the globe that I can find, except the globe in the imagination of the deceived, those that are asleep to the reality that we're being lied to on unprecedented proportions. And I'm leveraging the worldwide communications and social media to expose it. So what I'm noticing here, the wind is coming from this direction. We can see it with the flag. It's confirmation of what I'm saying. And I'm looking at a wall of water coming this way. So I'm good with heading back in. Now, sometimes the rain that comes down here is so much and so fast that it's important to just pull the car over because Rain-X and windshield wipers aren't enough. I've seen a couple inches of rain come down in a few minutes. I've never seen anything like it. So what I was going to mention is many of us are aware that there's weather modification going on, particulate being added to the atmosphere. Why are they making collecting rainwater illegal? Think about it. Why would they care? They don't want people knowing what's in the rainwater, what chemicals are in there. So we can be hit with a lot of toxins. That right there is a water tower that's being protected with plastic because it's being sandblasted and painted, but it's also it's got a lot of electronics that are going to be on top of it, reinstalled for communications. And so I'm not all freaked out about it. I actually am leveraging the 5G and the cloud and the artificial intelligence. I'll use it while I can. I mean, I can't get away from it until, you know, when my body stops working, then I'll just, you know, I'll transition. So here's what I'm showing you right now. The flag is blowing that way. I can feel the wind coming from that way, and I've got a wall of water coming this way. Well, if we were spinning, wobbling, and gyrating over 1,000 miles an hour, how could any of that multi-directional activity take place? It's common sense. No, it's uncommon to be aware of that now, apparently, because most of humanity is deceived and mind controlled, and they don't know it. So at home, I'll listen to the Bible, but I'm also watching the beauty of creation from a live feed from Lounge 5. Waves and wildlife, tropical destinations, all of that being shown. And then I can listen to whatever I want to. I like hearing the waves and hearing the Bible too, whatever passage I want to listen to. So I've got hundreds of hours of the audio Bible that I merged with the beauty of creation. What Lounge V or Lounge 5 has done is captured tremendous content from all over the world, and other people have too. That's why I featured it on my liked videos. And you can watch it if you want and listen to whatever you want. There's a paradigm in computer programming, garbage in, garbage out, that works for us too. Healthy nutrients in, healthy information in is going to give us the most likely outcome for a good choice. So I posted again. I thought I was born again until I was actually born again. Born of God's Spirit. The God who created this world took up human flesh and dwelt among us. I've known him as Jesus Christ all my life, except recently I've become aware of his Hebrew reference, and a lot of people that are in that Hebrew roots movement have way too much emphasis on obedience as a condition of salvation. That's not what I'm about. I'm about the grace of God sovereignly reaching into humanity and giving salvation and his Holy Spirit to his children. That happens at some point in the human experience when the Holy Spirit actually takes up residence. I thought it happened 30 some years earlier, until it actually did 4.5 years ago. Interesting, there will be beach walkers out here today. I can see a stream of them. Probably a dozen people in a couple of miles. From this perspective, we can see how the water comes up and has been going out for a while now. Right in the middle of the view is basically high tide line from this vantage point. Good day, Ron.
Good.
Thanks. Jogger right there. Interesting. Joggers jog in the rain sometimes too. The rain and snow. These are jogging gloves from, I got them from Costco. Yeah, they're really nice. They work great. I use them for riding the motorcycle, and they've got a little bit more functionality with smartphones, smart devices. That's where the sun would appeared today, right over in this vantage point. Now, in the summer months, it's going to come up way over here from this vantage point. Same one. So as I'm walking now and showing you how the flat water and the continuation of a reflection, a non-distorted reflection. Well, right now there's rain coming down and wind blowing, but the principles of that work. So right there, the wind is blowing that way. Right here, the wind is coming at me, the exact opposite. We can see that with the trees. It's because of the structures, the vortices, multiple vortexes. When Joni and I started dating like 30 some years ago, we've been married 31 years now, she said, "You sound like an encyclopedia." I said, "That's good, you're paying attention. I want to be very precise when I use words." My favorite class, I enjoyed working with metals and fabrication. I also enjoyed working with the English language. I still do. That's the key to the discussion. But to get at the heart, a lot of times we need to use words that people understand. Good morning. So when people are curious, they see the car, and you got to hashtag it to find the truth, YouTube truth. Just the name Truth is the channel, my channel name. So when I drop a comment on a lot of the videos that I'm in, nobody will see it but the person who made the video. I'm muted from their. They're probably paying attention of what I'm doing, but they don't want their fan base to see it. I was told that they're going to stop allowing hashtags. Google will be. They're going to stop the hashtagging. So when you see my name, if you type my name in a search, there's going to be a lot of information there to base your assessment of who I am and what I'm about. Now, imagine doing that on a motorcycle. That was part of the challenge with this. Would be making a transition from, just keeping the equipment protected. The iPhone 10 now is much more water resistant. When I was hit by lightning out there on doing the recording on the point, I didn't have I was barefoot on the wet sand. I knew I could get struck by lightning. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid then, I'm not afraid now. That's that's what makes us dangerous to the deception. It's not just, I'm not just saying look at me, look at we. Look at what we can do. You think water's still doing what it does? It's what it does all the time. It seeks its level, covers the face of the earth, doesn't stick to a spinning, wobbling, and gyrating globe. The reason why that matters is because it's a powerful evidence when people are deceived about that and too proud to admit that they've been deceived. Oh well. I don't get a commission on everybody that I help unplug from this. I just get a deep satisfaction of doing what I'm created to do. So I got up to the speed limit really brisk this morning, like I normally do. What was interesting is that I was able to give a smile and a wave to one of the local law enforcement. Isn't that special? Yeah, I know him. Joni says, you're known in this area. I said, I'm known worldwide, baby. Then that's part of the deal. The enemy of my soul and yours knows you, knows what we actually do. Not just what we say we do, knows what we do. So, even though I record when I drive, I give preference to the drive. I try to get my setup so that I can do that effectively. I want things to work out well, so see, there's like an AI feature in this phone too. See how it lightened up the YouTube truth there? You can see it. So I'm going to turn on the defroster, the little wire electrical grid that's in the back window. That'll evaporate it. And I'm going to take us on home now, but I'm going to draw your attention to the drive. And I'm going to want to set this up and get it reasonably stabilized. All the reflection in the water indicates that it's not only flat, but level. All of that symmetry is there. Watch it in the puddle. There it was. And that is part of the empirical evidence, as I call it, as it is. All the reflections in the puddles along the edge. The diffused lighting of all the cloud cover makes it really easy to see that, even when it's daylight. So this is a time of the year when we still get a lot of construction. They're just about done with these houses right here. Would you look at that? Is that impressive or what? Really nice. And they'll rent these out. Some people will buy them for investment properties and then maybe move in later in their golden years, so to speak, when they retire. Or they may move on down here right now and live in one of the residences. Ah, look at the nice big puddle there. Now there's a drain at the bottom of that. However, it's clogged. Yeah, I'm not going to want to go any deeper, even though it's probably not salt water from the ocean. It's salt water from the rinsing of all the salt mist around. See, I'm making ripples there. Ripples around the world. We all are. When we have the courage to share the truth, that's what happens. That's what we can do. You don't reckon there's any upside down toilets anywhere, do you? It's not even possible. The upside down world exists only in the imagination. You know, we can't see how deep it is, but I pretty much have an idea that I can walk in here. And then the low spot, I saw it earlier. It gets pretty deep right about here, so I'm not going in there. There's some more of the tree pollen. That should pretty much do away with a lot of the pollen that blows around now. My friends at Aloha Water Sports are going to be flying some kite or some parasails out here too soon. This is the area where I shot the sun apparently in the clouds, the local sun video. So on my YouTube channel, it's got only a couple thousand views, that video, and then Infinite Earth has close to 600,000 views, and then Flat Earth Research close to 90,000 views now. It's very interesting to look at. It looks like the sun is in the clouds. Job 37 says that it is. Job in the Bible. So where would I have to go to show you the street lights in the puddle? Well, I'll get my arm out of the way. We'll see the headlights of the car, or the van. It all works out. It's a mirror. We'll see the signals soon. There they are. I'd like to, now if I want to put the YouTube truth in the reflection, I've got to go up over here. Can I do it? I reckon I can. So I like playing pool. This is different than playing pool. There's the reflection right there. Not optimal, but it's still reliable. The street light there, right there. It's reality, folks. We don't have water hanging onto the bottom of a spinning globe. Well, you know, to go ahead and make this a little bit more comical, I think it's time to get the globe out. The sphere of mass deception. And I'll use this thing to maybe unplug somebody. Take a little air out of it. Well, we can see which way the wind is going. The water doesn't stick to it. The water falls off the globe. Do you think anybody in the stream of cars will maybe wonder what the heck's going on there? Do we need to call the police and have them taken to a mental hospital? I don't reckon so. Not hurting anybody. Just showing the reality of the upside down world. It just ain't right. People believe in that lie. So if I back the, like for example, I can do it. I believe I'll do it right here. So I'm going to back the car straight away into that puddle, and I'll have a bit of a video opportunity to show you what I'm talking about with the reflections and how that works. I'm sure you get the idea and you can see it. It may be really basic to you. You may share this video or not. Sometimes people share my or watch my content and don't even comment on it. That's okay. I don't mind. See the rippling? It's the reality. That's what it is. Now, if I leave the car running, the airflow from the engine is going to distort it, so I'm going to just turn it off. Probably have some dripping from my condensation from the climate control on the car. It'll take a little while to get still. We can see the hydrodynamics, the fluid dynamics, and the aerodynamics. It's all part of the reality. It's not science fiction, it's science fact. So now I'm going to try something a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around, and I want to be able to show you. Let's see, can I show you? Now the reflection should be in the proper orientation, and the original is backwards. Let's do it even a little bit weirder than that. Let's invert it and reverse it. Okay. And that's reality of it right there. And I don't have to go chasing down people and try and convince them of how deceived they are. That's not even how I do it at all. Good morning. So I can speed this process up a little bit. Even though I've disturbed the water, it'll get calm again, and that's just what it does. Now the wind is coming towards me, so I'll probably get a little wet, but I don't mind. So do you think a shower can operate the opposite direction somewhere else in the world? South America, Australia, South Africa? No. It's not what it does. That's a lie. Do you think we have, well, we have a camper probably in there, bless their heart. So, yeah, I was in between houses myself at one time in my life. Okay, do you think that anywhere in the world it would be possible for that to be held in place by a force that they call gravity? Is that even possible? No, it's not. When like Rich from The Guardian, and I showed him my wind chime. I said, where in the world could that hang anywhere upside down? He said, well, gravity. I said, in your imagination only. How about that? Knowing the truth will set you free. That was one of the sound bites that made me hopeful when Logan Paul had what his team had created to present. The truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. Yeah, it will. So all the news presenters that are looking at the flat earth and the fake moon landing hoax, you can know what team they're on, apparently, or at least where they're at right now, what their current perspective is. Anybody that's exposing the globalists like Alex Jones, this is Alex Jones here, you are the resistance. You are the controlled resistance. So I met a model type on Friday night out on Main Street in North Myrtle. She said, "Are you a Trump supporter?" I said, "Well," I said, "Not exactly." Are you an Alex Jones? Are you one of those Alex Jones? No, he's probably Bill Hicks anyway. It's complicated. There's actors in a lot of this. Okay, less bubbles, different silhouette, meant to put a kind of like an impression on your mind. That's a lighthouse. We can see lighthouses way too far away. Now, I'm going to try and back this up a bit. Flipping it around gives me a for sure backed out all the way. So like if I want to put that cupola of the lighthouse in this puddle, I need to be at a vantage point I probably can't get to. However, the symmetry of all this holds true. That's the truth. That's the reality. Truth and reality are basically the same thing. So, one of the things that I can do, I'm going to show you water seeking its level. With just a squeegee. It's just a different way of doing it. Uh-oh, my headlight's on. There, it's off now. You know, I wrestle with thinking, well, have I created too much content? Have I confused people by putting so much out there? Well, that's what the scroll on by feature is for. I mean, if you've figured this stuff out and you don't really want to share it with your friends and family, that's not going to hurt my feelings. I've had people tell me that they think that my views are way underreported. Could be. I've met an executive from Google out at the Point where there's only a handful of people. Like that day, there were a handful of people out there. Was that an accident? Don't think so. propane truck. Propane boils at below zero. It's a trip. Some of the physics and properties of the world that we live in just blow me away. So this is a rolling billboard as well. Even on a rainy day, take it for a ride. Go to the Walmart, go to the Starbucks or wherever. I'm pretty economy minded, so I'm not going to waste a lot of money on stuff. I do believe I want to take us to the Coastal Preserve, though. It's really close by. Back when this was a gas store or a convenience store, it hasn't sold gas for a long time. I used to buy beer and get drunk out in the dunes there, ride the motorcycle to the beach and go out there and drink alcohol. And I'm not all judgmental of people that are still drinking, like thinking, oh, I'm better than you. No, it's not that at all. What it is I'm glad to be free. I'm glad to be free. And I'm sharing a message to set other people free. So one of the dynamics that I talk about is if you're all excited about praising the Lord and going to heaven, and you've got some active addictions that you cannot stop, you may not actually have the power to do that. You may not be born again. That's why one of the things that I'm saying is so different than I heard leading up to this. I hadn't heard anybody else say, you know, I thought I was born again until I actually was. There it is. I hadn't heard anybody say that before. I thought all I needed to do was slip my hand up, cry a little bit, and my life would be different. Well, not so much. Not for quite some time. When I actually was born again, it was such a significant change. Now, through this process here, I have documented this process before the workers showed up. The temporary tower showed up, so that's what's giving us signal in this area now. However, that's gonna change. In Myrtle Beach, they've got a water tower that has an array of electronics up there that's absolutely massive, and that may be what gets put here. If it does, I'll maybe get better quality of broadcasting. Part of what I'm dealing with, some of the video is a bit grainy. It isn't quite the way I'd like it to be, but I do the best that I can with what I've got going on. So we've had a couple of times where the protective covering there has been blown out by the wind, and they're going to use they're using sandblasting equipment that is extremely powerful, several thousand pounds pressure of air. There's a big, and then they'll have air handlers. It's one of the dirtiest jobs that you could ever do. That big blue thing was an air handler that cleans the air up for the people in there working it. So if you're, like I used to grind metal for prototype equipment, stainless steel prototype equipment. I worked to fabricate it. I have a lot of special skills, a pretty varied background. I can imagine in my mind that like a lithium battery is extremely lightweight. It'll float on water. I could imagine having a jet ski made out of a big lithium battery with an electric motor that would power it over 100 miles an hour. It could be done. I believe you can cast a lithium battery. They're really expensive. My lithium battery for my motorcycle, I had one, was like $175. It would float on water easily. Okay. So I've got this puddle on my showing the Prince Resort in the reflection right there. It'll pretty much happen regularly when we get rain here. That's just where it collects. There's the stop sign and the reflection of the stop sign. And the geese that are curious. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. So like the wind is pretty brisk. We can see it's blowing that way. And then there's the symmetry of the Prince Resort right there. Like clockwork. It'll do it time and time again. Now I'm going to flip it upside down simply because I can drop it lower. I can drop it right on the water. That's funny. It's a dead end sign that says no turnaround. What are you going to do? It's a living veem. A meme or a veem. Let's put that right in the reflection. Okay, so that's how it works, and I'm going to walk us right up there and show you the humor in it. I see things in a kind of a funny way. Maybe you'll see the humor in it. You know, so it's a dead end, no turnaround. What are you going to do with that? So if I want to put the goose in the reflection right there, I'll just go right over here and not freak him out. And there he is. See him? Yeah, freaking the geese out. Call the cops, he's menacing the animals. No. This is kind of funny. So we've got a pooper scooper ordinance here. A fine from $310 to $1,000. What do they weigh it and fine accordingly? Or do they just see what kind of a person and what they're dealing with? Do they give warnings for that? I don't know. Not sure. There we've got the liquid money. I've talked to the representatives. I don't think we've got a camper in this one. When I'm coming out here to set up, a lot of times I'll pull that open just to see if I've got somebody that's jonesing. Normally there's not a camper in there. So the wind is coming out of that direction. I can tell by the ripples the lack of reflection, or the different reflection that it is. High tide was 7:11. You can look at what time it is now. I've got videos and photos of perfect symmetry of the buildings on that water when it's glassy clear, and I've got video of the sun from this vantage point coming up here, where today it came up way over there. Summer, winter. That's just what it does. So if you want to look at empirical evidence that shows the impossibility of the globe, you can watch the sun and the moon. The duration of visibility between them changes. That's why I say you don't feel do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, or gyrating? So this is the evidence of the high tide line here. Not here, right there. Raindrops, Water came in and smoothed it out. It's just what it'll do. They didn't turn it on yet. This is a freeze faucet. It goes way down low. I was able to turn on water in Wisconsin from one of those, even when it was 30 below zero at our place, but it wouldn't work here because the line is exposed to the ambient air temperature. That's why if you have something like in the climates like where they get a lot of cold, like Wisconsin, we would have basements. So like here, this is sandy and I can walk on it. On the other side of that walkout there, if I walk in there, I'll sink up into my waist in some of the slipperiest, stinkiest, gooey mud you can ever imagine. The root systems and all of that of the plants hold the ground together. This wasn't here a little while ago. Buoyancy, we've got differences in density and mass. Wood will float on the water until it's waterlogged and then it'll sink. There's an osprey right there. I've got one like that catching a fish, taking it for a flight and a dinner for one, I'm sure. Let's see how much I can zoom in with this. That's 10 times. Ooh, he's looking. I'd like to catch him catching a fish. So that was 10 times, and there he is right there. I've got pictures of these houses perfectly with the water perfectly still and the sun hitting them. That makes them reflect really nice. Later on, the bubbles will go away. It's just what they'll do. And there's irregular surfaces out there because of hydrodynamics, fluid dynamics. Do you know what a gallon of water weighs? Well, that depends. Depends on the temperature. Warmer water takes up more volume, so the volume and density change with temperature. It drives the whole hydrologic cycle. The evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Enough temperature change and we have a change of state from liquid to vapor, and then it'll condense, turn back into a liquid. We'll get condensation, freezing, thawing, all of that. Do you know what temperature dry ice is? It's about 100 below zero. It'll burn your skin in a split second if you touch it with a bare hand. There's the osprey checking me out. Hey, buddy. Wow, that's a trip. I love what I get to do. I want to show you the real world. It's a reality show. How about that? You can look at my digital activity over the years. It's pretty amazing to me. How many people are going to wake up? Well, you're looking at one of them. Right here, I'm one of them. I'm alive and awake. I was a walking dead man and didn't know it. I thought I had this heaven and hell, Jesus and Satan thing worked out. And then I got the upgrade. I got the Holy Spirit. Now that He lives in and through me, I'm not the guy that I was. I knew the difference between right and wrong pretty much. I just couldn't do it entirely. Just because I volunteered at a mega church, worked at a full-time ministry, and we homeschooled our children, didn't mean I was born again. How about that? Isn't that special? So, over where I was playing in the puddle, there's one of these that's filled up with sand. That's why it wasn't working. So it's pretty dry right now, the air is, but my car is still dripping from the condensation that it's capturing inside the climate controlled area here. There would be more of it if I shut it off. I just let it run for a bit because I wanted to get into a warm car. That is so nice. The motorcycle was really tough to try and plan out what I would do. Now I can pretty much do a live broadcast whenever I want, wherever. Uh-oh. I think I'm losing my power here. So I'm going to say thank you so much for your likes, shares, your public and private encouragement. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a YouTube video and add it to my liked videos because I like what I do. I actually love what I do. Thanks again.